Welcome to the Plympton Public Safety Building Committee meeting. This meeting is being recorded for cablecast and YouTube presentation by Area 58 Community Access Media. The video of this meeting is not to be considered an official public record. Okay, so we are a little understaffed here, but we do have a quorum. We do have our support people. So on the agenda, we have minutes to approve from 1/4. Does anybody have any amendments? Motion to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5 in favor, 3 abstentions. Alrighty, so let's just jump right into
I think we have
this.
the 11:30 minutes as well.
Okay, I did know that we had 2, but I thought we had done those, so.
No, we had not. Those are
We
the
had
ones
not.
Never can hurt to vote again.
All right, so any amendments for the 11:30 meeting? No, so motion to accept the minutes as written.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thanks for the reminder, Ross.
Yep.
Alrighty, who wants to start? We want to look at the drawing, or we want to,
Well, why don't I just briefly go through what we've done since our last meeting? Although, I don't know if you guys saw the email. So, we revised the plans according to some of the requests from the chief. We just made some modifications so that those comments that he had about the workings of the plan were more suited to what he felt was the appropriate way to do it. And that was fine. And we added the second egress out the back as requested, plus we changed some of the actual spaces according to his request. So that's primarily what we did there. And we also modified the site plan with some of the comments about providing several different ways of accessing the site, and to have the low access point for the patrol, and then a drive that gets you into the upper section for public access. We also, in turn, further developed the campus plan. Again, just in keeping in mind that this is all pretty much preliminary, but they're just ideas about how to possibly enhance and develop that plan. So we did this as, as we took it only as far as we felt was okay before getting further feedback. We also, once we had the plans revised and the site plans revised, started discussions with several companies in the region that do both prefab and panelized construction and modular construction. And we have asked them to look at the plans and give us an idea in terms of budget as to what they would be putting on as a budget number to do a building of this type using their methodology. The modular.
Yeah, I'm going to stop you for a second.
Sure.
Does everyone understand the difference between prefab and panelized? We all do?
No.
Okay.
Prefab would be literally trailers that could bolt it together, onto a site.
Like the trailer that's out here for the fire.
Panelized is literally panels of walls that have, the sheathing on it and all the framing done, and they just stand them up, bolt them to the ground, and go down and put them all together, and then they throw the trusses on top.
Yeah. As
This
opposed
is
to-
probably better suited for panelization than it is for prefab. And we did some digging on the prefab. I got an email from somebody, and I thought, or a voicemail from somebody, and I forget who it was, right before the new year, saying that, you know, the committee's getting anxious because we're not talking about prefab. So we did a little digging on who's done prefab, what were the results on prefab with regard to police stations, and we came up with two communities that started with prefab. Ironically, both communities ended up building stick-built after bidding. After bidding, so they had to start over. So, that being said, I'm not giving up on prefab because I know that the committee wants to look at that, but we haven't found the golden goose yet on prefab. Panelization will save, you know, tens of thousands of dollars because the panels are made in New Bedford at $8 an hour, or $11 an hour, whatever the minimum wage is, shipped up here, and instead of having a carpenter at $79 an hour putting the sticks together. So there's an advantage to panelization over complete stick build, but today even panelization is almost stick built. So when we refer to this building, even if it's panelized, it'll be stick built, and it will also be a method and means thing, which means that we will detail it as if it's stick built, and it'll be up to the contractor's bidding as to whether they want to panelize it. The contractors that want to win the bid will panelize it because they know they can have an economic edge on their price.
Can't there also be some benefits to the panelization from better energy savings and stuff because of how they build them and put it together?
Well,
Not as much as you'd think.
Not as much as you think, but if we were going for a lead, we'd get bonus points for not having waste because the lumber's exact.
Right.
So there's no tree waste, but, you know, because when they come out here with all the framing,
Right,
you're gonna see piles of waste wood, and it's gonna drive you nuts, and you're gonna wanna stick it.
Starter fuel. Yeah.
Right, start, exactly what it is. When you can't get those wet logs going, you throw a few of those in. But I just wanna make sure you understand the difference.
I have a question about the panelization. Does that mean we're restricted to their measurements, or can
No.
we customize?
No.
Customized.
It's all custom.
So,
It's still building
there's
the
no
wall.
restriction on the
It's
chief's
just-
design, there's no restriction on Plympton's design. What'll happen is, they will submit a panel schedule to the architect in construction administration phase. The architect will approve that, and then, for dimension.
Yeah.
And then they'll come out, and B1 will be this piece, and B6 will be that piece.
Okay.
And then they'll come on a trailer with a set of diagrams, and we'll be in the field making sure B3 goes where B3 is supposed to go, and B9 goes where B9 is supposed to go. And interior walls as well as exterior walls could be panelized. So it's not uncommon. If you go down south, panelization is the way every townhouse is built. You'll see them from start to finish build a townhouse anywhere below New Jersey. And start to finish, the day they scratch the ground to occupancy in 6 weeks, because they've got it down to a science on panelization.
It's nuts.
Yeah, it's nuts. We're not there up here, unfortunately. So, but we're getting there, and you'll get a benefit. It won't be enough of a benefit to kill the sticker shock you're about to hear,
Yeah,
but it'll be a benefit. So we're gonna work on the sticker shock too.
yeah. So, getting to the sticker shock, we have consulted with our cost estimator, who we have been using for a number of years now, who does our cost estimating for the projects that we put out to bid. Now, keep in mind, this is not, they did not do a cost estimate. We just wanted them to give us, they saw the plans and saw the site plan, and in their opinion, current market the way it is, and the current bidding climate the way it is, and the site conditions, which is a lot of site work in this particular scheme.
The scheme being the basement.
The basement and cutting the hill and all of that. He's saying could be anywhere between 500 to 550 square foot.
And that's all
And
in?
he said for planning purposes, he would carry 525. And there's no cost savings for the basement in this particular case. We asked that specifically to see if that, you know.
But that's because this is.
Because we're digging out the
this is-
side of the hill
but
anyway.
but that number per square foot is not just the building, it's
No, it's the
building and
entire.
site work,
it would-
it's an all-in
it's
number.
Including, it's an all-in number.
It's not an all-in number though.
Well, not for the entire project, but
Right.
just the construction cost.
Okay.
That's,
But
You
site
still
work
have
is work.
OPM, you're still gonna have an OPM charge. and-
that's a budgetary project issue. We're just talking construction costs
Okay,
here.
but that does factor in site work.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
Okay.
indeed.
all right.
It's, the site work is definitely a driver on this being a little higher.
Yeah.
The size of the building in relationship to the amount of site
Yeah.
work.
And he did reiterate that, which is what we already talked about, I think, that the fact of the matter is that the size of the building, the smaller it gets, the more it costs.
Per
It's just a
square
fact.
foot.
Per square foot, obviously.
If we cut off,
Yeah.
say today, we say, oh my God, this is way too much money, we can't do it, stop. If we take off the, let's call it the Sally Port and the,
Meeting
Meeting
room.
you're not gonna save 525 times those areas.
No.
You're gonna save 300
Some-
times those
whatever,
areas.
Something proportional.
It's not a proportional number,
Right.
all right?
Because we're on one side of that upward,
Yep,
yeah, you
Well,
know.
plus-
It's not just that. I hate to say it, but it's Massachusetts prevailing wage, chapter 149, that drives these projects to be so obnoxiously high.
Yep.
It's a terrible law, and it just handicaps the town. It really does. Now, that being said, we did look at a couple of the other towns that are doing police stations to make sure that, you know, we weren't out in left field, and that Jeff and
Zell.
I didn't want to say
That's okay.
Zale.
That's
I was
okay.
thinking rings, Zale.
Zale.
We looked at Hamden, and Hamden, its cost was $3.2 million, and, you know, it was a 6,800, 7,000 square foot police station. They started out with a really small budget like you wanted to do. They went modular and bid it twice modular, until they finally threw it all away and just decided to go stick build. And that police station's just been occupied, I think, this year. September. So we looked at Dayton, which isn't too far from here, and Dayton had to go back to town meeting and get $2.5 million more, because they went down the same path with modular, and it came in $1 million over on bid. And by the time they got their act together and got the appropriation to get more design money, things had taken off even a little more. So I don't know that we're gonna be able to get this thing down it's not gonna get down to 2 million ever. So don't pretend that it's going to. That number was a bad number to begin with. It was unrealistic with today's construction standards and today's bidding laws to get to that number. That being said, I do think we can do a lot better than 525, and I think there are going to be some ways to skin this cat better. And the OPM and the designer, I think, should be charged after this meeting to find a way to get this thing chopped down without sacrificing program.
Right.
Right? Whether it means a gravel parking lot, whether it means
Slab on grade.
Slab on grade. You know, building shifts so it's not digging in the side of the hill. There are ways, I think, we can find a way to get this thing a little more reasonable, but it's never coming in at $2 million. And I don't want you leaving here today thinking you got a $2 million project. It's impossible.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the summary of where we are now.
So all good news.
Yeah, yeah.
I have
The
a
good
question
news
for,
is-
I have a question for you guys all, for everyone. First of all, when does the warrant close?
End of May, end of March,
March.
March
Last
28th.
So we're not under the gun where we're,
Well, kind of, but not yet. We're not under.
tell me what the, tell me when you think we're under the
We have
gun.
to see the finance committee first.
Well, I think
before
we have to, I mean, we have to have a number that we understand that we can build what the police department needs, and then make sure that we can pay for it. You know what I mean? Because I mean, if they go and say, well, we're not spending more than, I don't know, let's say $3 million, and we deliver them something that would have been good for the department 10 years ago, that's a lot of money to spend for something that doesn't get us where we need to be. So we need to know that to then be able to go back to, I assume it's not just FinCom, but it's FinCom and, you know, the treasurer and the selectmen, to be able to say, this is what it costs, can you pay for it?
Right.
You know, it's not up to us to pay for it, but it's up to, you know, can we afford it? Because I think there's definitely this committee has never talked about doing an override for this. So it depends on whether
Debt
it can...
exclusion. Never use the OR one.
Well, debt exclusion, or whatever we want to call it. We're not, you know, borrowing money to raise taxes to pay for it.
Exempting the debt to allow you to borrow.
Correct. There you go. You like that one? All right. Whatever one makes you happy. We want to keep you happy.
Well, overrides forever,
Yeah.
and debt exemptions not. But, you know, there's also,
I'm not sure that distinction is necessarily understood by most.
I think you're right.
So either way, we have, you know, we have money in this capital purpose fund, and we have money that comes into that from industrial site property taxes, and we need to know what that can pay for, but we also need to know what the actual price tag is, because the numbers that were running around last year, as you have already said, they're not real numbers. So we also have that issue.
if this was a senior center, okay, we couldn't build it for $2 million. And that means no locker rooms, no jail cells, none of the specific things that jack up the cost of a police
No
station.
bulletproof glass, no
Yeah.
None of the,
zero entry doors.
none of there's a certain additional cost that comes with a police station.
Right.
So if this was a senior center, and we finished a 9,000 square foot senior center in Rockland in 2015, and that cost $3 million?
Yeah.
$3 million. And, you know, so we know that to build a stick frame building in our area in 2015, it's $3 million for 9,000 square feet. So this is a 9,000 square feet, it's less than. But this one has a little bit more site work than the other one does, so it's a little more than. So we have to find a way to balance all that out. And I honestly don't think we've scrubbed it enough to be able to give you that number tonight, other than to give you this 50,000 square foot, scare you out of, so you don't sleep for 2 weeks number that the designer sent out today with his
I
email.
didn't do it to try to scare you. That was.
You scared me. I had to go home and change my underwear.
So we only have to live with it for a week, we get another one in a week.
Well, we asked for a number, and we have a number based on site work and that and all that, and then you've got to go back from there, but you've got to have a line in the
Here's the problem
sand.
that I have with that.
Budget
Yeah.
number.
The problem I have with that is it's a gross square foot number based on one sheet of paper,
Yep.
and it's not quantified.
That's
And I think if we need to quantify this, and get it dug deeper, start counting the doors, windows, roof areas, and apply the actual numbers to it, which Pete Timothy can do, which Pete 3 can do, to get a real number of what it would be if it was bid. I don't think it's gonna be 525. I actually think it's gonna be less than.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's gonna be less than enough that you guys leave this table with a smile on your face. That's
We haven't
where I'm
smiled
at.
for weeks.
Yeah.
So,
Back to your question about what's a deadline date? March, the end of March is, we need to have some figures before that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not
that's
sure when the
well-
finance committee
Well,
meets.
March 27th is the warrant close, it's the last Monday.
Right,
I mean, we can still refine the numbers, but we need to know whether the bread box is even affordable. I mean, that's the issue.
Can I meet with the town administrator / coordinator / whatever we have, accountant, treasurer,
It'd probably be,
to sit down and go over bonding schedules and whether, you know, we can afford it?
yeah.
I mean, you know you have X number of dollars coming in. Traditionally, you borrow for 20 years on a project like this. You're allowed to borrow 30. If you borrow 30, the payment's lower, you pay more in interest. You know, those are financial questions that the finance committee and the selectmen have to answer. But if you have a limited amount of money coming in annually, it might be an option. I'm not suggesting it, but those are the types of things we can help with and do a schedule on. I can't get to that without a steadfast number of
Right.
where this project is. And right now, I'm not there. I'm not disagreeing with his 50,000 square foot view based
Well-
on a piece of paper.
But in fairness, I think we left our last meeting with slab and basement, and we kind of needed to level set that out so that they can really focus on one
Yes.
thing, because we were still,
You can't afford a basement.
well, that's what we need to know.
Yeah.
And
I
we
can-
think we know.
I've been saying that forever.
Yeah, but we listen to him more than you, so.
I know.
Yeah,
Well, the
but-
reason you can't afford, do I want to do a basement? Absolutely. I just don't think you can afford a basement. And I think if you're not going to afford the basement, the location on the hill isn't necessarily the best location.
No.
The location on the hill is a great location for a basement, because you're cutting it into the hill, and the basement's in the hill.
There's a lot of cutting and a lot of sidewalks.
I think one of the things that we had looked at before, and although Harry, correct me if I'm way off base here, but we had looked at bringing the police station more towards the townhouse, so we didn't have to excavate and put in retaining walls. 15 to 18 foot high retaining walls, which are gonna cost a fortune.
Agreed.
Bring it up this way on the level area, the most level
Right.
area. And the other thing that honest to God troubles me here is that we've got an IT room in the basement, which means that has to be HVAC.
It would have to be in,
Well, I think
Because-
the basement's going away, so I think it's gonna have to move up anyway.
You know, I mean,
I
that,
don't,
it would have had
I like
to
the
been,
basement, but
would have
I
had to
don't-
been,
I mean, basement
Supplied
alarm,
with
I mean,
HVAC.
that's what you're gonna get down to, if you know. I think moving the building to the flat spot's gonna reduce the cost of this thing significantly. It really is.
and that's what we talked about
Yep.
beforehand.
Right,
Yeah.
so I agree. Again, I think that the charge that the OPM and the designers should be, I think we should meet in 2 weeks, or we'll meet next week.
we're scheduled.
Well,
We're
we
scheduled
have-
for
we
next
have a
week, but
conflict.
Zell and Jeff have a
we have a
conflict.
conflict,
Oh.
we have to
Oh,
be.
you get a pass when you have a conflict. I have a conflict, I get beat up.
Well, it's only when there's multiples in a row.
I think we should take the 2 weeks, and we should be charged with finding the most economical way and come back with a detailed budget. And when I say detailed, I'm not talking about a P-10 28 estimate
No.
pages. I don't think we have enough time to do that, but I think that we do have enough time to break it down into the 16 divisions by square foot, using existing data of existing
Okay,
police stations,
okay, yeah.
so that we'll be close enough that I'll feel comfortable close enough saying to you, yeah, this is not going to exceed 3.8 million, or this is not going to exceed 4.4 million, or this is not going to exceed 2.6 million. And I'd want to meet with the town's finances people
Yeah.
to understand how far they think the funds that are going into the trust fund could go if we did it this way, and can we do it without asking for a debt exclusion?
Colleen, I know that John had been doing some work on that. You've been talking before, but,
John Trainer?
yeah. So,
I don't know that he's been talking about this, but
he's been
He has.
talking of trying to play, he likes numbers.
Yes, he
So, that may be a good way to tap into that,
Mhm.
possibly.
yeah, so we'll set something up.
Yeah, I mean, if you could set something up for me to be down here at the end of next week, I can at least get an idea of how far we can go. And I'll be able to come back and say, your delta is X number of dollars. What do you want to do?
I think just one other thing, if we're going to be looking at a slab on grade type of plan, we need to understand whether or not we should be keeping all of the program spaces as they are currently, which results in an 8,300 square foot building, or do we want to look at reducing the size of each space a little bit, as we talked about many times previously, in order to just squeeze things down just enough so that we're not, because we're going to be expanding this building as we take what was in the basement upstairs. So we're expanding the square footage, and I know that the square footage cost might drop a fraction, but not really significantly. So do we want to entertain the notion of possibly shrinking any of the program? The only reason I ask this is because it might come up after the fact, and I'd rather address it now,
My
so that
only,
we don't do this twice.
my only thought is in the basement, when we added the basement in, that general storage
It was just
area
thrown in.
of 450 roughly
Whatever
square
it is.
feet just kind of went in
Stuck
there
in
because
there.
we had to fill it because we
Yeah.
built the basement. So
Yeah.
I don't think we need to carry
So
all
we'll
of that
just-
up.
And
Okay.
and the garage isn't a killer. I mean, you've got the Sally port, you really need the garage.
Well, yes, for storage, I think that's, I mean.
Is that
I think the answer
is that a killer?
If the board tells me it's gotta go, it's gotta go. If the garage has
Well,
gotta go, it's
so-
gone.
The reason I say this is because I think the 3 spaces that you have in orange, all 3 of them can go in the trusses.
Well, they do, well,
They can all go in the
well, the
trusses.
mechanical spaces, no, we can.
Mechanical,
accommodate Electrical isn't gonna go up there, but we can deal with, we can figure out the mechanical spaces. The IT, room has to be somewhere.
Right.
And that's it. I mean, if the garage is open for sacrifice, I mean, that's something that we have to.
But my question would be, I mean, we're pretty much at a one entrance sally port design. If we expand that sally
Yeah.
port a little bit, we could fit the motorcycle and the ATV on that back wall that's not being used. That's, further away from the drawer,
Put a lock
but,
gate or something.
or, a piece of fencing around it or something, I don't
Piece
know,
of,
however.
welded wire fabric.
Yeah, however it needs to go, but that would, at least the machinery that would be stored in the garage could be enclosed,
Yeah,
not in
that
a
still doesn't
connex.
answer the IT room.
Oh, no, I'm just
See,
saying,
I
as
don't,
far
I don't
as,
have a problem with IT, electric and boiler going up in the trusses if you have a nice little stairway to go up there, because they're non-public spaces, you don't need an elevator. And the trusses can be made such that you have a square right down the center.
Yeah, the
I
only
know you
issue-
guys don't want to
No,
do
no,
that.
the only issue
but-
would be the IT room, because that's actually serviced by someone. And if that's someone, I mean, that's.
it's gonna be, it's gonna be
that's
cool
accessible.
too.
Has to be
Yeah, but
accessed.
I'm not
has to
worried
be
about any of that.
air-conditioned,
That's-
Has to be, that's all. It's because of the function, that's why that's a concern. The electric room and the boiler room can accommodate wherever we can accommodate, reasonably well, that's fine, but it's really the IT room that has to be, and unfortunately, that's usually adjacent to the electrical room, just for, obvious
power
reasons. So, I don't know.
Could the storage closet and maybe part of dead records go up?
No.
Nothing on this plan here can go up, because you're gonna need,
I do
Access.
have one question about the actual need for the public meeting space. In terms of, I understand that it's wanted, and for all those reasons, it's wanted.
Well-
However, my question is there a current facility, which I imagine this
Sitting
space
there.
is, that serves as that function?
Well, public
Can-
meeting space, there isn't a training room per se that has
Okay.
any of that. But I think what we need on that, though, is, a delta between
The training
a conference room and the training room.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's really the issue. If it's going to cost us $500,000 to have a training room, we don't have a training room. But if the delta isn't, because, it's kind of a wide open room, I don't know how much you're saving per square
Well,
foot.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think
It's just a lot of
without,
space, that's all I'm saying.
but without knowing an estimated delta on that, I'm not sure that we have,
Okay.
I think it's a good idea, but it really depends on the price. I will probably think it's not a good idea if it's cost prohibitive, obviously, but, and we may all have a different threshold on that.
Yeah, and the only reason I bring that up is because it seems like the only program space that could be achieved somewhere else in a different environment, does it have to be in the police station? That's my only question, you know what I'm saying, Chief?
If there's not.
If it's not in the police station, let's say part of this building gets renovated or something else happens as part of whatever, and you create a training room somewhere else.
It would be nice if it was, but if we're talking that space or no police station at all,
Right.
then the
Yeah,
answer
but
is...
I don't think we're at that spot.
No,
And I personally don't think, I think we're going against your mantra, I guess, would be, and that is, what good is this police station if we just told the taxpayers we'll spend all of their money coming in from industrial use, and it's 10 years old the day it opens, because you are going to need that training space. He might not need it in his career, but his successor is definitely going to need it.
Well, it'd be nice to have a space where it can get all my personnel in
Right.
meeting, and that's the appropriate size space.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys remember, we had a roll call room in the first plan, and that's,
Right.
we had a conference room, we had a secondary interview room, all that got merged
Well,
into
this-
that one
yeah,
space.
This plan's, with the exception of the corridor to the back, it's a pretty efficient plan.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not gonna get any more efficient than what you got. I mean, and the designer did what he said he would do. And it's very similar to, other police stations of this size. Hampton's this size right here. Yeah, I mean, you're looking at Hampton.
And you're looking at pretty bare bones.
Right.
At this
And,
point,
you know,
it's not, I mean, if there's spots as you're kind of to fit other things in, and you can shave a little bit here and there, I mean, that's what it is, but if you can't, then
Well,
you
it is
can't.
going to grow. We know this
Oh, yeah,
this
I mean, you
footprint will
can't
grow.
take stuff and put it back in and
Yeah.
keep it all within the exact square, I mean, I get that,
Okay.
but, you know, it's.
All right.
I mean,
But
it's-
because the basement and the site work will be reduced, it's a big function. I mean, we're
Of our-
cutting a
of
lot
our-
of cost there.
It's a big
So
delta, yeah.
hopefully, it's better than a wash, and hopefully we'll pick up on an economy.
I have a question.
Greatly.
With this plan,
Mhm.
what's the long-range estimate for, before we outgrow this plan?
Well,
To your
that-
lifetimes.
I don't think I can answer that, really. I mean,
I really don't want to put something in here.
well, the buildings these days are designed to last 50 years, I mean, at least 50 years for all intents and purposes, functionally
You hear what I'm saying? I don't want to
That's a
build something
function
that's
of-
only going to be good for 10 years.
I would have told them, I don't want to do this.
You're
again.
looking at a long time for
Yeah,
this design.
it's...
With this plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even what we've cut down.
Yes, I can say that unequivocally without even looking at the chief, that you will be comfortable here for a couple of decades at least. And the building systems.
We'll be at capacity, but we'll be comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the
Right.
hope is that as we continue down the path of digitization, that
That's correct.
you'll end up with some of this stuff will
Maybe.
get smaller. I mean, I know that they've got some kind of contradictory rules right now, but, you know, that would be a hope. I mean, the biggest.
Maybe we could digitize all the evidence. And
I mean, you don't know what it's gonna be.
Digitize the architect to get the cost down.
Sure.
I mean, my wife's firm they just moved out of their space, redid it, moving back in, and they're using 2/3 the space
Yeah.
because they said no more, you cannot have file cabinets and file cabinets, and
Yeah.
they've leased
Yeah.
out the other space.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I mean, they just said absolutely not. They're all freaking out about it,
Just
but
done
I mean, we don't,
Yeah.
I can't tell you the last time we've been in we had a real conference room meeting. Everything's go-to meeting with, 18 participants, and we're all going back and forth, and it's a new world, no question about it, so. But
So, that would
but
be
you
a
can't, there's a line we can't cross, and that line is, we're pretty close to it, but I think we have a little more to go. And although I missed the last 2 meetings, and I've been punished for it, I have been following it, and I do get every email, and
yeah.
I think we've got a little way to go on making this a lot more efficient for the town. But there's going to, I don't want anyone leaving tonight thinking that you got a $2 million police station. Because if you're going to leave here thinking that we're going to get to $2 million, you're going to be, whatever's in your pocket's going to be evidence, because it's going to be drugs. So,
How do you really feel?
well, I mean,
No, I get that, but that's what we neneeded to do, and that's what we're
we've
trying to
done,
get to.
we've gone through a lot of reiterations here. This is not, you think about where we've started and how far we've come since September. You've just about designed every way, shape, and form. We are still waiting on a modular number 2, because we haven't given up on modular. B3 hasn't given up on modular.
No,
all right? It's not looking good based on the data we've received, but I want to fulfill the requirement that you asked us to look into modular. So you can stand up at town meeting with a straight face and say, we looked at modular. It doesn't work. Or, we looked at modular, guess what, it's going to be modular. Because, you know, we have one last avenue, and they're pricing it out right now based on the drawings that we have.
I have another question then. Oh, I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you. This plan here, this is all going to change?
well, it will now, because
That's what I'm saying.
we're going to eliminate
It's
the
going to
base
change,
side.
Is there something that-
minorly.
Is there something that bothers you?
No, this part, this is just minorly?
Which
No,
one?
it's going to change because...
Oh, the site plan's going to change
Site plan.
Yes.
dramatically.
Yes, that's right. Yes, okay.
But is there something that's bugging you about it? Because that's worth noting, because that may be part of what they would change as they do it. So if there's something that you don't
Well-
understand with what we've done here, then you should
My
say.
concern is, of course, when I worked in the town clerk's office, there was never enough parking
Yeah.
on the night with the baseball games. I mean, that was,
Yeah.
I mean, it was an accident waiting to happen, in my
Well,
opinion, kids running all over
yeah,
the place.
well-
So if you're gonna move the police station closer to the town hall, what's happening to the
Well,
parking
good
places?
question. That's a very good question. And certainly, we have to look at siting the building. I don't know if you recall, but one of my previous site plans where I suggested putting a slab on grade building at the top of that plateau between the baseball field and the back of this building actually fits in there. That way, the rest of the site can be utilized for parking as much as possible. But if we're also looking at locating the building possibly closer to Town Hall in this area and figuring out how to develop the rest of it with some additional parking. I mean, that all goes to the second, kind of the second phase of this, which is how, as we talked about before, about how the whole site gets looked at in the long term. Because in the long term, there's not only the new police station, but there's potentially new fire station. of some sort.
You're going to be doing a new fire station, maybe
So-
not this year, maybe
Yeah,
not
it's in
next
a
year,
few
maybe
years,
not in
but-
5 years, but you're going to be doing
So
one.
there has to
10
be kind of a master, it's a kind of a master planning thing, where once we finalize the appropriate location for the police station that works, and that will potentially work in the future with the development of the rest of the site, then we can talk about, how do you develop, how do you get more parking, and where does it go? I mean, it's a step-by-step process. We can't, without, coming to some agreement about the location for the station, and then we can look at how to develop the rest of the site. But really, the hill, once the basement is out, we really got to stay away from that hill. So it's just
On a
expensive.
very related topic, I did actually hear tonight that the deed is cleared on that property and we can start moving forward again.
And this is which one?
It would be, where are we? Up here.
Oh, no.
No, I'm up here.
It's up
Yes.
here. Oh, this property?
Yes.
Oh, well,
Oh, wait a minute.
but this
acres.
opens up a
Oh, my
whole new
goodness.
ball game here.
So is it imminent, or is it imminent that?
It's imminent that the lawyers are going to start talking again.
Whoa, that's
Okay.
great.
Right, we don't have it
Well,
yet.
No.
Yeah, but
Okay.
There's finally some movement.
something has happened, but I guess does that mean that what we really need to do is assume one view that we don't have it and one that we do, and sort of
What?
two sightings? Is
Can I
we-
make a
I think
suggestion?
we're already there.
I think you should let us find the most economic way of building this building.
And then we figure out where it goes.
Well,
And we'll
we can
talk
always
about
cite
whether
it.
we move it to the
Yeah,
new site
we
at
can
a later
always cite
date.
it.
Yeah.
Right now, we don't have an economical solution for you.
Right.
We don't. I know you don't have enough money. He's got heartburn. He's
No,
got
I
heartburn.
don't.
He's got heartburn.
I don't, I know what the numbers are, and I know it's gonna cost about $95,000 per $1 million we borrow on a 20-year note. And
A little less with the rates.
that came from our bank last year, so if we're off a little bit,
Yeah.
I get it. But for ballpark figures, that's where we are, and we can spend about 300,000. We can't spend everything we have in the account, and so 95 times 3 is 285. And you can put folding chairs and a card table in the new police station. They can get along with that for the next 15 years until we can afford something else. I mean, I hate, you know, I'm just being
I'm not
honest.
I'm not saying that that's not an option, but the building itself, the furniture costs are a cost, but the building itself, it has to be built. Under Chapter 149, you're gonna pay a laborer $82.50, you're gonna pay an electrician $94.50, you're gonna be paying painters like $86, you're gonna be, you know, the numbers are just outrageous. And, you know, when you get and start adding up the number of hours there are to build the building, and you multiply it by the prevailing wages, including all their benefits, a lot of money. And that's why whoever was talking about modular in the beginning, it's great if you can get a modular building off-site into here. But what they don't tell you is the other part to modular is you still got foundation work, you still have a lot of other work that has to go with it. The actual modular building may be cheaper, but by the time you're done, it doesn't necessarily always work out. And I want to really rule that off the table, because I don't want anyone to be able to beat us up at town meeting, and I can't do that yet. I also can't, I couldn't stand up at town meeting with this design today and tell the people of Plympton that we've done the most efficient thing in Plympton, because we haven't. I think we have with the design. I actually think the design's about as compact as you're gonna get. But I don't think the location of the building, I don't think the basement of the building, and I think you've got some things here that I think we can get out of this to get to that safe. When we go to town meeting, we don't have to wear armor.
Well, it just won't pass. That's the bottom line.
I'm not sure anyone has said we're bringing it if we don't have the money.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, but I mean,
we haven't even gotten to that point yet,
if you
so.
did,
Well, I don't even think we're even close to that yet. I mean, we have to work on the numbers more and have that, we'll have that discussion to make sure we understand the numbers.
I'm the huge eternal optimist, and I believe all the nonsense in Washington, and I do think some sort of an ARRA program is coming down the line quick. I think towns that are ready to go are going to be able to benefit from it. I just do. So I'm hoping that we hit the bonus ball with a grant. I'm hoping that we can get the costs down. I hope we have enough money. I hope we find a way to make everything work. And right now, we're just not there. But I am confident we can get closer. All right?
So I'll just note just one thing, just to think about, is this driveway behind the townhouse.
Yep.
That is something will need to be done with that in
Okay.
any drawing, just because right now it's blind. So if we're going to encourage people to park back there, we would need to widen it a little bit or whatever.
Oh, yeah, it's a choke point. No,
Right, so I know you're just jotting it out, but just as one of those points to think about as you're doodling on it. But
one of the other things that we're going to have to deal with too is, you know, we're developing this. We're giving you a pretty good estimate. We're no different than any other person that comes to the town. We have to go to the planning board. Planning board's going to approve it. They're going to look at those types of things. They're going to look at in and out on 58. They're going to look at the radiuses that we've suggested. And we may have to change some things even after we've all agreed on it. So, and that's a process, and it's a good process.
that's why I'm just tossing it out there. I know we're not getting the final stuff, but just since we experience it, and I know you guys deal with it every day, you know, it's great to have the parking, but we want to make sure that that may mean we have to just take a little bit of a
Parking's
hill
not
there,
any good if you get killed getting to it.
Right, or we take out a kid on the way through.
Okay. Rob, you got anything to add?
No, nothing from me.
Okay, so next week we're going to have, not next week, our next meeting will be the 15th?
8th.
8th.
Next week is the first, the 8th, sorry, thank you.
So what we'll do is, obviously, we will develop a one-story scheme, slab on grade, of taking the basis of this
Can you and I talk
Sure. we can talk.
offline, maybe tomorrow?
Sure, but.
Because I wanna walk you through what's in my head with
Okay.
trusses.
Sure.
'Cause
Sorry,
we-
Sal.
But- Yeah.
What did I do to disrespect you? Isn't that assault?
That's what happens when, that's what happens when you get.
2.5.
If we can't all laugh, we're in trouble.
So, I've built 5 senior centers that have had this exact same problem, and we threw all the mechanicals up in the trusses, we threw everything we could in the trusses.
Not the seniors.
Yeah,
Not the seniors.
no,
Some of the really cranky ones are still in
no
there.
handicap access to the trusses, so you got a problem.
And it worked out, and it's heated, and it's cooled, and you're not dealing with a huge expense, because you have to build a truss anyway. So there's ways to do it, especially if it's only mechanical space or storage space or whatever space
Yeah.
that's not accessible.
Yeah.
We can code-wise do it. So rather than increase the size of the building, we're stuffing it into the trusses of the building. Because we're gonna design the trusses. So when we design the trusses, we can make the members do whatever they have to do to accommodate a nice clear space. When you're driving down and you see trusses go up, and there's a big hole down the middle of the truss, somebody's putting something in that hole. They didn't do that because they didn't have enough wood.
Right.
They designed that truss to accommodate the load so that they could put a space in the truss. So I think there's things we can do. Designers generally don't like doing that because it means usually there's a crappy set of stairs somewhere.
Yeah. gonna
Or
be a set of
something that they don't
stairs
want to put their name on it. But I think we owe it to you to try and find a solution to that basement, solving the basement without increasing the cost of the building and, maybe getting this thing on flat ground. Okay?
And obviously, we'll look at, probably, maybe there's several options about citing it that might work. I'm hoping there are at least 2.
Great.
I can see.
Without the additional site, obviously, if we get that additional plot of land, then there's no.
Right, because that corner's kind of in the way.
Yeah, it's
That
corner's in the way.
corners, and it's kind of
And
right.
even
it's
digging
like-
that side of that hill, we probably would have needed an easement to be able to do that. Otherwise, you'd have been sheeting that side.
Well, no, because that property is just that field and stone wall. That's pretty flat when you get up there. That flattens out and doesn't keep going up, so.
Well, nothing else that would give us a parking area for.
Oh, my God,
That's
sure.
Oh, there's plenty of ways that we can do this.
We'll use it.
Let's just hope kids still play baseball.
Not so
My numbers
far.
on baseball have dropped dramatically. Damn soccer kids.
Hey, don't.
Most of ours do both.
Like, I
Great
have a
game.
daughter that got a full ride to UNH for soccer.
See,
And I
there you
used
go.
to go to soccer, and I'd be going, look, they would play a game, you can't use your hands. So, I don't have anything else, if that's all right. Is that okay for us to do that over the next 2 weeks? Does that satisfy the
That
board?
sounds right.
And I think we'll be able to have a general idea of where we're going and what the next few steps will be after that meeting.
Okay.
I think it's going to be positive.
All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye?
Thank you and good night.